Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're going to be building a hand of cards from different archetypes, and we're going to be on the battlefield and clashing with them, trying to have the most control at the end of the round, and we might be seeing some Esoterix Anomalies to shake things up. Today we're taking a look at Esotera, the Awakening. This is for 2 or more players. It takes about 15 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 and up. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, and today I'm going to be doing a rule school where I'm going to teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. So let's get started. Esotera, the Awakening is a beautiful card game that can be played in about 15 minutes. The basic game has a very low barrier of entry where you're playing cards into a 9x9 grid, and you're controlling cards that have a lower number than the one that you've played that's already been played. You're trying to find the right combos to place the right card in the right spot to be able to possibly control even more than one card of your opponent's at a time. Once all the cards have been played out into the board, whoever controls the most has won that round, win 2 of 3, and you've won the match. But even with the simplicity of the basic game, there's many ways to ratchet up the complexity of the game. You can construct your own 40 card deck, and that will give you different strategies to key on. There's also anomalies where you can play with a certain amount of these, and these sort of break the rules of the normal game. Esotera the Awakening is an easy card game that starts basic, but you can add a lot more strategy as you get to know the game. Now to set up, usually you construct your own deck, and we'll talk about that later in the video, but for your first game, it's best to set up a pre-constructed deck. On the screen here you see 40 different card names. You're going to go through your deck and find all of those 40 cards and create a draw deck and shuffle those cards and place them face down in front of you. You're then going to draw 5 cards from your deck into your hand so that you can see them, but your opponent cannot. Now the game has an optional playmat that you can purchase separately, and it's good for seeing the game board because here you'll see that there is a grid of 9 squares. This is the portion of the board that we're going to be using for this. Now if you don't have this, you'll just imagine a 9 square grid, 3x3 like this, in the middle of the table that you're going to be playing cards to. Now a match of Esotera the Awakening is played over multiple rounds. Now there's many different formats to play, but I'm going to be showing you the speed format. This is best for your first game. This essentially is going to be a 2 out of 3, which means you're going to play up to 3 rounds. Whichever player wins 2 rounds first wins the match. Now one player will be the starting player, and that player is going to take one of the 5 cards from their hand and they're going to place it in any of the open spots. At the beginning of the game, they're all going to be open. So let's say the first player plays like this. Now one of the players will be playing their cards face up and down just like this. Let's zoom in on the card and show you some things. Now the cards have a name and they have a QR code that you can scan and learn more about the character. There's an archetype, which is for advanced play. You can check out the website to see more about that. But here we're mostly interested in these numbers here. Now this is in the bottom left hand spot here, and adjacent to this is this spot and the spot just above it. If we look at these numbers, the bottom one's a 5. That would be if the amount of power this has against a card to the bottom of it. Right now there can't be any because it's in the bottom left. Same with the 5 to the left. There's nothing here, but we have an 8 up and an 8 right. This shows how much power this card has against other cards that's there. Now after the first player plays the card, then the other player will. In this case, we're playing a 2-player game. Now they can play in any open spot that doesn't have a card as well. Now when they play a card, they're going to play it tilted just so you can tell whose card is whose. So we're going to play this one sort of tilted like this. Now, let's look at this. They played this. Now, the card to the left of them has an 8. They have a 9. Now because this number is higher than the number that this one has pointed to that spot, this player is going to control it and they're going to basically put it in the same orientation as their cards. So this card was controlled by the first player after it was first played, but now that the second player played this card, this number is higher than that, so this player controls it and twists it like that. So now the second player controls both of these. Now numbers range from 1 to 9. A is the highest. A is even higher than a 9, if you will. Now you have to have a higher number. If this was an 8, it would not control this card, but because it's higher than 9, it does. Now looking at this placement, this was actually the best card that you could play here because it had a 1 below, which this is the bottom of the board. There's nothing that can go below this. We had a 9 over here, 9 over here, and an A right up in the middle. So this is a very powerful card because even on the next player's turn, who was the first player originally, plays a card here, this A looking down ties this, so it does not control this. So this card is pretty much gonna stay here unless that player plays an A here pointing to the left. Now, if you play a card here and it does not do anything to this, this card stays. It's still controlled by that other player. Now let's say it's the second player's turn again, and they play their card here, tilted of course, because they're always playing their cards tilted. Now, look at this. This 6 is less than this 8. This does not automatically become controlled by the player. Only cards that are played that turn can affect other cards. So even though this is going here and this one's actually more powerful, it still stays. It comes in, it looks at what's next to it and see if it can control anything that's already been played on a previous turn. However, let's say the first player now plays this card. Look at that, it has an A to the left. This one had a 9. So this one is controlled by the first player, so they make it straight up and down. This one has a 5 up here, this is a 4. So this one, by placing one card, was able to control 2 of the opponent's cards, and now all of these are for player 1, and this is for player 2. Now this will continue going back and forth until cards have been played in all 9 spots. Then you'll see who has the control of most cards. Whoever did will win this round. Now here's interesting. Remember, the first player was playing straight up and down, and the second player was playing tilted. So straight up and down, player 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards controlled. Player 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a 9-card grid. The first player got to play 5 cards. The second player only got to play 4. That means, since both players drew 5 cards at the beginning of the round, that player 2 still has a card in their hand. This card is considered control. So actually right now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to player 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one in their hand is controlled. It's a tie. If it's a tie, you will then play another round. No one won this one. You still need to win 2 out of 3. You would take these cards back into the respective hands, shuffle your deck, and play another round. Nobody has won one yet. You will play starting with the same start player as the last round that was tied. However, let's say the end game looked like this. Player 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4. Player 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 1 in their hand. So player 2 would have won this specific round. Remember, you play till one player has won 2 rounds. That's the match. So again, players will take their cards back, shuffle up, drop to 5 for the next round. Now, a couple things for the next round. The person that won will go second in the next round. And in this first round, we were saying that the higher number was the more powerful. In the second round, or the next round, for example, we would use the smaller numbers would beat the larger number. So it's an inverse. And then in the last third round, you would flip back to doing the higher number is the one that has the more power. So you flip back and forth there every other round until you have someone that has won 2 of 3 rounds and that player has won the match. Now there are many advanced variants to the game once you know the basics. One of them is to construct your own deck. Now to learn all the rules about that, you can check out EsoterAUniverse.com, as this will show you all the rules, specifically like you can't have more than one of the same card, for example. There's also different play formats like Destruction and Dead Zone that again you can learn on their website at EsoterAUniverse.com. Another way to play in advanced mode is using anomalies. Now there's many different ones that you can choose from. In the easy game, you can use 0 to 2 of these. In the base game, I showed you without using them. You can use up to 2 in the very easy game, but there's different ways to play more advanced versions. You can determine which ones you use either randomly or select them. Here's a few that will change the game up. For example, Betrayal. At the beginning of the round, you trade a random card with an opponent. Balance. This happens once per round, and essentially cards that clash with the same number capture. So you don't have to have a higher number or a lower number if you're playing inverse. If they're the same number, you can capture them. And Light is when you build your deck, you use the same archetype. And it's the letter in the bottom right. So it's all different ways, and there's plenty of these that you can play with and mix with, and it changes the strategies of the game. To see more of these, check out EsoterAUniverse.com. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Esotera, the Awakening, faster than you normally would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the Kickstarter link in the description of this video. Now, that's going to take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that they would love your support.